Greetings, fellow humans. Fab Mark here with another transmission from Metre Keyboards, and today we are building another 65%. This one is the Eave65 from Swagkeys. So this will be the first build I've done from Swagkeys. I purchased this a few weeks ago. It took a little longer than I would have liked, and shipping was a little bit more expensive than I would have preferred. Shipping basically was about 80% of the cost of the keyboard. But that being said, it does look like a very nice keyboard. I've read a lot of positive things about it, but I have kept my nose out of taking a look at any of the videos, so I can be surprised. These are not my favorite type of boxes. I usually end up tearing this. All right, so there's some stuff in here. And I guess this is the case. It's quite light. And I think that the only option was in a clear color. I usually try to avoid clear if possible, but in this situation, I did not have a choice. All right, so here we have a two-piece shell casing. It looks like a polycarbonate. It is quite flexible. More flexible than I'd really care for it to be, but it does have inset nuts, so we're not screwing directly into plastic, but I'm just kind of, I mean, I don't know, I have keyboards that were sub $30 that when I take them apart are not this flimsy and they're plastic. So that kind of, off the bat, it's kind of given me initially not a very good impression. All right, let's see what we've got in this box. All right, we have, I'm gonna guess, gasket bumpers. We have what look to be screw-in stabilizer pads, perhaps, and maybe feet. We have some bolts and a tool. We have a daughterboard with a sideway connected JST cable. That is odd. We've got a manual. We've got a PC plate, as well as it looks like some below the PCB foam. And we have the PCB. I had not previously opened it. All right, looks like we only have step caps lock and a split backspace optional layout. The rest seems to be pretty standard. Looks to be a 6 1/4 space bar. So besides the step caps lock and the split backspace, that seems to be about it. And it does look like we have 2 rows of downward shining LEDs, and we have a reset button. This does have an STM32F1 MCU. All the sockets are labeled on the underside. It says powered by VIA, so I'm gonna guess it doesn't have QMK, just VIA. It's south facing, but there are no LEDs except for the caps lock indicator. So, all right, seems like a fairly standard 65%. One that, again, does not offer, it doesn't come with screw-in stabilizers, so it's like, well, what do I do here? I'm gonna go ahead and get me a set of screw-in stabilizers so I can go ahead and build this out. I really wish that they came with not for nothing, but at least we know that we're going to have some that are the right size, and hopefully one would assume they would be some of the better quality ones. That way you don't have to go through the mess of having to tune them or make sure that the ones that are the right size or any number of things. So let me go ahead, take this out. I'm going to assume that this could probably go on after the fact. We can just walk on the stabilizers. All right, I don't read Korean, so this is kind of a pointless, I don't know. It's, I mean, at least others come in different languages, so I don't even get a guide here. I'm going to assume that these are for the stabilizers, and I'm just going to go ahead and install them. But so far, I'm not very impressed with this at all. Yeah, I think it's going to make more sense putting this on first, because the bars, completely forgot about that. Thankfully, I recalled before putting in any more of these stabilizers. All right, we've got the screw-in stabilizers attached to the PCB. I'm going to assume that these are the feet. I'm going to go ahead and put them on there since there are no instructions, so I'm just kind of, I mean, yes, I know keyboards are basic, but I've put many keyboards together. What about for the people who have never put a keyboard together? Don't they deserve a guide so they can know where everything goes, just in case they don't, because it's their first keyboard? I guess I might be a little spoiled by previous keyboards, but I did just recently build the Power Light from OmniType, and I gotta say that that is a keyboard kit. It included instructions, it included everything. It didn't include the stabilizers, but other than that, it did include everything that I needed to know in order to put it together. And yes, again, despite the fact that I have put many keyboards together, this could be my first time putting a keyboard together. I would like the instructions, and I think that that's not much to ask when it comes to a keyboard. Because now, all right, we've got this, I guess they'll call it a daughterboard. That's the jinkiest daughterboard I've ever seen. It's basically just a port with an angle on it. This is a piece of FR4 with a JST connector haphazardly connected on there. And I guess that's how it goes. I don't know. Again, no instructions. Well, let me guess. It's probably the 2 short screws, right? I don't know. I'm just guessing. That's the ugliest looking USB-C port I've seen. I am just not very impressed. I mean, yes, it's cheaper, but this keyboard comes at a price if you're buying anywhere other than, and that's another thing. Keyboard ships from Korea, but FedEx or DHL likes to charge you as though the country of origin is China, because as it says on the PCB, made in China. So the country of origin is China. So I got into a little bit of a tiff with the folks over at DHL for that fact. Anyway, all right, that looks like it goes like that. All right, there's that. And here is the plate. All right, so it does not look like we use any studs. So it looks like we're going to need to go ahead and pull out the switches and go ahead and load them up. So I previously got to try out just a handful of Gateron Quinns from a pack that Milktooth sent out to me, but I am finally getting around to building a kit with it. These are just what were up on rotation, and I was like, hey, why don't I load it up on these and see how it goes? So we're going to go ahead and load up these Gateron Quinns so that we can go ahead and get this plate PCB assembly put together and move on to the rest. We now have the base together. Now let's try to figure out where these gaskets go. I'm gonna assume they go like this, but I'm making assumptions. I'm gonna put the thicker part of the gasket down below because you'd want the gasket to go down. All right, that's what I'd assume anyway. All right, I guess that's how the gaskets go. These are probably the cheapest, cheesiest gaskets I've seen on a keyboard to date, and they're gonna keep wanting to come undone as I try to put this together. Watch. All right, so let's do some gymnastics here. All right, got that plugged in. Now, let's, all right, I think I got it. Yeah, that is just the worst design I've ever seen. All right, I think I got this backwards because this just doesn't seem right. And there goes some gaskets. Yeah, I think this is upside down. But, I mean, not like I would know because there's no instructions. And I'm going to lose a gasket and there's no spare gaskets. They're so chintzy, they can't even afford to give you a spare gasket in case you lose one. But, so I guess this goes like this. I don't know, because it can fit either way. Yeah, that's not my idea of good design in no way, shape, or form. All right, all the gaskets seem to have stayed in place. Yankee daughterboard's in place, so let's go ahead and put the top shell on. All right, and let's drop these. I guess the long ones are for the back, and the medium ones are for the front. Or at least that's what I'm guessing. Because without a user guide, no idea what those two studs in the middle there are for. Yeah, it's got some flex, not anything to write home about. You might be able to tell from my demeanor, but I'm not necessarily all that impressed with this keyboard. I've built a number of keyboards, and this is really probably one of the most disappointing ones that I've built so far. All right, let's see about the under. No, too bad that cable kind of covers them up. But that's just the jankiest daughterboard I've ever seen. I really, it's very cheap. It's super flexible. This is just not a quality keyboard kit. So today I'm going to be loading up Metropolis Lite. This is a clone keycap set. It's a DyeSub PBT. And I have the dark version of this one. But go ahead and load these up so that we can go ahead and do a sound test on this keyboard and see if all of this effort was actually worth it. Well, here we are with the Eave65 from Swagkeys built up. It doesn't sound that bad, but I just don't think that this is a good kit. Now, for one, I was going to use step caps lock, but then I realized that this keycap set didn't have step caps lock. So I went to go switch the positions, and the switch would literally not come out of the plate. The tolerances on this are very poor. The fact that I can't call this a daughterboard because it's literally just a sliver of FR4 with just enough to put a JST connector and a USB-C connector. I think that could have been done in many other ways, and it leaves for this ugliness below. There's these two stud spots that don't seem to correspond to anything, but because we don't have a user manual, there's nothing that we can, see what that could go to. There's something supposed to screw in there. What is that meant for? Batteries? I don't know. It's just for the price of this kit, honestly, and I guess maybe I've been spoiled by the fact that I just put together the Bauer Light from OmniType, and that is a significantly better keyboard kit. It is a little bit more expensive, but it is well worth it. The tolerances are good. It comes with a really nice to read manual on how to assemble everything. It took longer, but it was an easier build than this. This was a pain in my butt. I have not cursed this much since building a keyboard for quite some time. It is just not a good keyboard. Again, I paid basically double once they added shipping, because the country of origin is China, despite them, you know, saying it's coming from Korea. I mean, a keyboard that costs this much should not be this flexible. It just, like I said, and it should not destroy my switches when I try to pull them and grabbing by both the top and the bottom. It's not like my switch puller doesn't have the feet set up to grab it. I don't know. I don't really get what the fuss is. I mean, personally, this is the first keyboard I have built from Swagkeys, and I can honestly say they'd have to really move a mountain to change my opinion about their products. No instruction manual, cheap materials, overpriced, overcharged. I don't know, no stabilizers included. It's just poor design choices. It really, this doesn't spark joy. This doesn't bring me joy. But those are just my thoughts on this particular keyboard. Again, I purchased this with my own money, and I almost wish I would have spent it on something better, like a 15-year-old laptop, because I think that would have been more useful than this. But that's just my opinion. Anyway, I'm going to leave you guys with a stock sound test of the Eave65 loaded with the Gateron Quinn tactile switches and a DyeSub Cherry Metropolis light keycap. So I do hope that you enjoyed the build. If you're thinking of purchasing this, please look at other kits available out there. Even a KBD 67 light secondhand, I think, is going to be a better choice than this keyboard. I think you're going to be happier with it. I don't think that I think that they dropped the ball on this. The tolerances are weak. The plastic is cheap. This keyboard will not take much. I mean, if this is in a gunny sack or a laptop sack, it's going to break with the right movement or hitting something. It is just, in my opinion, not a good keyboard. It sounds okay. It feels okay. But I'm going to do the sound test, and honestly, I'm putting it back in the box and packing it away, because it's not a keyboard that I want to use. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed the build and my thoughts on it. I'm going to leave you guys with the stock sound test. If you have any questions, comments, or you'd like to actually purchase this from me because I don't want it, please let me know down in the comment section below. Until the next transmission, keep calm and keyboard on.